WGAL News 8 at noon starts now.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Roach. Today, the funeral is underway for State Police Corporal Timothy Okconor, who was killed in the line of duty in Chester County. News 8's Sarah Metz is live from Downingtown for us.
Brian, Corporal Timothy Okkonor's funeral is happening right behind me inside the St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church in Downingtown. The funeral started about an hour ago following a procession which included hundreds of law enforcement officers from all over. We saw ones from the Susquehanna Valley and also other states like Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware. The funeral service is closed to the public but is being live streamed. Okkonor's wife spoke and had a message for her husband's friends and also co-workers.
We are devastated at the loss of Timothy, but we must carry on his legacy and his good work. Do not let the bad of the world tarnish your mission of protecting with integrity.
And she made that message for all of Troop J who were in the pews inside the church today. Corporal Okkonor was shot and killed during a traffic stop off Route 10 in West Calm Township. He responded to a report about an erratic driver, and when the corporal pulled over 32-year-old driver Jesse Elks, investigators say Elks shot him and then shot himself. Now, Okkonor was a 15-year veteran on the force who leaves behind a wife and also a young daughter. Now, once the funeral service wraps up, which it does appear to be happening pretty soon, as we can see some people handing out flags and also the procession starting to line back up again, they will be taking Corporal Okkonor's body to All Souls Cemetery, which is about 15 minutes down the road that way. In Chester County, Sarah Metz, WGAL News 8.
The Letterkenny Army Depot in Franklin County announced funeral arrangements for Specialist Christopher Lopez, who died during a training exercise last week. It says his viewing and funeral will be held on Saturday, March 28th at Beglerville High School, which is Lopez's alma mater. The viewing is set to start at 10 that morning, and the funeral is scheduled for 1 that afternoon. Lopez was 18 years old when he died. In recognition of his service, he was posthumously promoted from private first class to specialist. Breaking news, Shippensburg Area School District is dismissing middle and high school students early due to a water main break. The school announced that those impacted students are beginning to be dismissed even as we speak. Elementary buildings will be dismissed at regular times. All other students in outside district placements will also be dismissed at regular times. Pennsylvania is starting its aggressive driving enforcement initiative today. About 300 law enforcement agencies are taking part in this campaign. From now through April the 26th, police are focusing on violations like speeding and tailgating. And that leads us to a live look using our Skycam network across the Susquehanna Valley. Some clouds up there in the sky, but it is still cold. Here's meteorologist Mike Susko.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brian. We're still seeing the chilly temperatures across the area for our Wednesday. And as we go into the rest of the week, temperatures will get a little bit more moderate and more seasonable for this time of year. But one more day where it's going to feel like mid-February. Spring will officially arrive on Friday, and temperatures will respond in kind, getting near average. Mainly dry for the weekend, although some showers are possible early Saturday and late Sunday. You're looking outside Gettysburg and Adams County right now. We got a mainly cloudy sky. Temperature is 30 degrees in Gettysburg, and same thing pretty much all up and down Route 30, also up in Harrisburg and Carlisle there, 31 in Chambersburg, as well as Lebanon, and 28 in Lewistown. Storm Team Live Radar Network, it's quiet. We have some cloud cover, maybe a little bit of clearing there for off to the west as the sun comes out later on this afternoon. You can look at the 12-hour forecast here, a high around 38 degrees as those winds will remain anywhere from around 5 to 10 miles per hour as we go through the rest of your day today. And like I said, temperatures will respond by the time we get to Friday up to the 50s, which is where we should be. We'll talk about that rain, though, that we can expect Friday night and also as we go into Sunday night in a little bit. Brian.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Republicans held on to 2 seats in the State House of Representatives after winning a pair of special elections yesterday. That includes one in the Susquehanna Valley. In the 193rd District, which covers parts of Adams and Cumberland counties, Republican Catherine Whalen defeated Democrat Todd Crawley with almost 60% of the vote. Whalen will replace Republican Torrin Ecker, who resigned to become an Adams County judge. And Republican Andrea Varabish won the special election for the 79th district, which covers parts of Blair County. That brings the total number of Republicans in the State House to 100, while Democrats have 102 seats. There is still one open seat in the State House. It's in the 196th district, which covers parts of York County. Republican Seth Grove resigned from that seat. There will be a special election between Republican George Margaitis and Democrat Ron Ruman on the same day as the primary, which is May the 19th. A Democrat is dropping out of the May primary race for a state house seat in part of Cumberland County. Adam Trone says he will no longer run for the seat representing the 88th district. He's endorsing Sarah Adgerton, who is now running uncontested in the primary. Trone says he decided that he can make the greatest impact by continuing to serve as a school board member in the West Shore School District. A state lawmaker is putting a bill to end special elections just like those into place. State Senator Lisa Boscola says they are poorly attended, but still require elections boards to go through all the same procedures, and the costs can add up.
We're having an election, and then these two individuals are going to have to run in 2 more months. It's totally unnecessary, and it creates a lot of havoc in the counties because the counties, they have to, set up their polling locations, the balloting. They have to have staffing and security, and it costs them a lot of money for what?
The senator is proposing the vacancies be filled in the future during the closest primary or general election. The state Senate also passed a bill meant to protect children from harmful chats with artificial intelligence. Supporters of that legislation have pointed to cases where parents say chats with AI were connected to self-harm, suicide, or harming others.
Many of these devices and tools are utilized to pretend they're human, so they can be very agreeable. They can sort of talk people and be persuasive into different areas.
The bill would require chatbots, as they're known. They let the chatbots that know that they are interacting with children to say they are not human, require notifications suggesting to take a break after 3 hours, and implement safeguards against producing sexually explicit content. Today, the president will be present when the remains of 6 U.S. service members return from the Middle East to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. The crew members of an Air Force refueling aircraft were killed last week when their plane crashed over friendly territory in western Iraq while supporting operations against Iran. Today will be the second time this month the president has participated in the dignified transfer of service members, one of the most solemn duties for a commander-in-chief. New at noon, Iranian state television confirms that Israel's claim that it has killed another top Iranian official, which would be the third in 2 days. Iran's intelligence minister was killed overnight. Iran lashed out early this morning as a result, with multiple attacks on its Persian Gulf neighbors and Israel. Today, top administration officials will testify on Capitol Hill about the war with Iran. The president says there was an imminent threat in the region from Iran and that he had an obligation to carry out the operation, but there are some questions about that. News 8's Rachel Hersheimer has more on this from Capitol Hill.
This is the first time top intelligence officials will be on the record since the war started. We'll hear from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Radcliffe, among others. They'll likely be questioned on the U.S. deadly strike that hit an Iranian school, killing mostly children, and claims Iran was preparing to strike first if the U.S. did not get involved. Now, on Tuesday, President Trump continued to claim Iran was an imminent threat. He also slammed NATO and other allies for rejecting his calls to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, the shipping lane that transports about 1/5 of the world's oil. His reversal comes after allies across the globe refused or delayed deciding whether to send ships to escort tankers through the region.
I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake, and I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
It's unclear whether the Trump administration will try to protect the strait on their own as Americans face rising gas prices. Today, AAA reports the average gallon of regular gas is $3.84. That's about a 25% increase compared to when the war started. On Capitol Hill, I'm Rachel Hersheimer.
And that leads us to a check on our local gas prices right now. The state average for a gallon of regular went up another 4 cents overnight, now at $3.80 a gallon. That's up 68 cents since the war in Iran started. Mifflin and Lancaster County now at $3.80, the most expensive in the Susquehanna Valley. York and Perry County are just below that mark. The cheapest gas in the valley remains in Franklin County at about $3.61 a gallon. New at noon, the Treasury Department is working to lower the oil prices, today easing sanctions on Venezuela's state oil company. The U.S. issued a license this morning allowing Venezuela's state-run company to sell and export Venezuelan oil to U.S. buyers and on global markets. Also, the White House is waiving for 60 days requirements for goods shipped between U.S. ports to be moved on U.S.-flagged vessels. That 1920s law is often blamed for making gasoline more expensive.